Good morning. Thank you so much, Sholini University, for organizing this event, and I'm honored to be here. Hey guys, do you want a new car or a new phone? You always say, of course, yes. But what about the first car you bought out of your savings? That looks smaller? Oh, yes, outdated. Why? Because it's a new model available, cool and yuppie. And do you want new iPhone? You again will say, yes. The moment new iPhone hits the market, the phone in my pocket, which I just bought 6 months back, starts looking so old. Why? Because it is packed with tons of new features. The latest Snapdragon processor, 108 megapixel camera, and Instagrammable photos. Sounds familiar? Yes, I'm sure. But these are better versions of car and iPhone. What about us, human beings? Do we stay the same all our lives? Or do we also try to become better versions, smarter version of ourselves? First, let's discover who we are. The Chandogya Upanishad has a story of a young boy who goes to Gurukul for education. But when he returns at the age of 24, he's very excited. He's sharing with his father that what he learned is that I learned about astrology, statecraft, sociology, economy. But the father asks, did you learn about something which is invisible and untouchable, something we cannot feel? The boy was wondering what it is. I'm sure you also are wondering what it is. The father continues. Let's say there are two pots, clay pots. So they are different size, different shapes, but one can keep the things fresh while other can keep the things cold. Now the important thing about this clay pots is clay. But what is even more important than that? More important is that their essence. Yeah, the essence which we cannot touch, we cannot feel, we cannot see. Likewise for us humans, what is most important? It's our mind. You certainly can point to the head, but mind does not exist here. But where is the mind? You cannot see, you cannot touch, you cannot feel. Simply because mind is not a physical entity. Mind is purely abstract. But we are essentially living our lives through our minds. Just think of it. Our thoughts, our attitude, our ideas, our beliefs, fears, values, insecurities, dreams, complexes. Our thoughts drive us towards actions, and our actions ultimately determine our destiny. I'm sure you must have heard of Arunima Sinha. She became world's first Indian female amputee to climb Mount Everest. Can you imagine? What a tragedy to losing one's leg. And when she was in hospital, you know what did she say? She said, I lost my leg, but I did not lose my heart. I have decided that I would live my life with dignity and self-respect so that people don't look at me with pity. Oh my God, it proves what a focused and powerful mind can achieve despite physical odds. I remember a beautiful story which is so close to my heart, which explains how mind is so important. There was a rat and he's so scared of cat. And he is praying to God, this is God, please save me. I'm so scared of cat. Why don't you make me cat? God says, fine. This is Tathastu. Now he's a cat. But again he goes to God and prays, God, I'm so scared of lion. Please make me lion. God says, Tathastu. Now again, he is very scared of hunter. He goes to the God, God, I'm so scared of hunter. God says, I can't help you because you're still carrying a heart of a rat, mind of a rat, right? No matter, even if I change my physical phenomena or I gain material things in my life, but till I change my mind, I cannot change my life. If I may ask you one question, Are you Rancho of blockbuster movie The Three Idiots? Or you are Raju Rastogi, who used to believe in superstitions and mumbo jumbo more than believing in himself? What was the difference between two? Rancho, he believed in the education that it is a discovery of outer world and the inner world. And Raju Rastogi believed in something outside, superstitions. Now, Sonam Wangchuk, who actually is the real character in Three Idiots, who represents Rancho, so he actually created such wondrous inventions like ice stupas to resolve water issues in Ladakh and some solar buildings. No, wonderful inventions. Why he could do that? Because he believed in himself. Because he believed in inner mind that I can do something. So it's not only about degrees. So there are further two kinds of people. So one are inconceivable optimists. No matter, they will stay optimist. And another are incorrigible pessimist. Inconvertible optimist, let's call them half glass full. These half glass full, they never let the twinkle of their light eyes get dim. They may be against a rock, cannot see even a distant hope inside, but they always remain full of hope, positivity, optimism, enthusiasm. But on the other side, the pessimistic people, they are so self-obsessed, they are pessimistic, they don't have hope at all in their life. So now let us see the examples of these two kinds of people. So, inconvertible optimist. For me, I would say Mahatma Gandhi, Helen Keller, Bangai Mathai, Nelson Mandela, they all were inconvertible optimists. Even Arunima Sinha, you know, she climbed the Mount Everest. The very thought of doing so is so daunting, isn't it? She too had a choice to immerse herself in self-pity, you know, or ended her life the way many others in the similar situations will do. But her innate optimism did the trick for her. But a word of caution here. Inconvertible optimism doesn't mean that they will never have a bad day or a bad mood. Rather, it is the spirit of never getting defeated. It reminds me of John Milton. You know, he wrote his best work, that was Paradise Lost. And you know, when did he write that? After having gone blind. My God. He believes that one's mind, our mind, has got the power to create a hell in a heaven or heaven in a hell. And if we talk about the incorrigible pessimist, so if we think of real life stories, who they were. There was a builder, Suraj Parmar in Mumbai, who ended up his life simply because he was harassed by some government officials. Any guesses about his wealth? Just a few hundred crores. And even he won his legal case after his death. And I'm sure you must be even still remembering the suicide case of founder of Cafe Coffee Day, Siddhartha. What do you think? Do you genuinely think these people did not have glimmer of hope? They did not have enough resources for a decent life? Or they did not have alternative to resolve their problems? Even I have gone through the similar situation in 2007. My husband also committed suicide. The reasons were pretty much same. Loans amounting to 60 crores, stalling of real estate projects, hundreds of court cases, and harassment by government officials. I believe it was his belief system only where he began thinking that his world was crashing and there was no hope left. Look, if I, a homemaker and an absolute newcomer to the male-dominated business world, could successfully rebuild the business, repay our creditors, and tackle the numerous court cases. In comparison, he was much more capable, experienced than I am, except for the beliefs ruling his mind. That's the only difference. But can we change our beliefs? Yes, we can change our beliefs. Who can change? Just look into the mirror, the person right in front of you. can change the beliefs. Yes, you're right. It's only you have the power to change your beliefs and therefore your life. In fact, we all change with time. Think of it. Are you the same person who was 10 years ago? I don't think so. If you're the same, you haven't changed any belief in last 10 years, check your pulse. You may be dead. Yeah. So today, I would like to share some techniques which help me to become a better version of myself by changing my belief system. So first thing which I did was, I started with open mind. Life always gives choices. And we just refuse to look at them. But we work rather with a, like a horse with blinkers on. And these blinkers do not allow us to see in any other direction except for we can see just ahead. We can't see sideways, which may offer something uncharted, something unexplored. Yeah. But I decided to look beyond for different possibilities of life, and I did find many. The second technique which I used was challenging the old notions. I decided to break the stereotype, first in my mind, then in my actions. Real estate development is a field dominated by men, especially in India. I developed a strong connection that the humans, men or women, have unlimited potential. Limitations are only in our mind. I hope you remember British athlete Roger Bannister. Yeah, before he came in 1954, before that there was a belief, erroneous belief, that 1500-mile race can only be covered in 4 minutes, not less than that, because maybe human physiology does not allow it, But this Roger Bannister, who was a neurologist as well, he challenged the notion and he smashed the mental barrier forever. And his record remained only for just 46 days. Why? Because a galaxy of other athletes even broke his record, much less than 4 minutes. So this is our potential, but we block it with mental barriers. And third technique which I used was cultivating a stronger self. As a youth, my only dream was having a nice family, loving husband. I can recall telling this to my university friends. They would simply laugh about it. Their reaction was obvious, considering that I was a gold medalist, in my LLB, LLM. And they must have wondered why I was thinking of happy family, not a bright career. After the tragic demise of my husband, I consciously decided to shed this belief and replace it with another belief. I trained my mind to think in terms of a lion needs no companion. It's my beautiful phrase which gives me so much power. Yeah. And I didn't value in self-pity like, oh, I'm so lonely. If I would have been stuck to my old belief, I couldn't have evolved a better version of myself. Fourth technique which I used, that was dealing with complexes. As a kid, I had a great complex about speaking on stage. My legs would begin to tremble. Even today, they are trembling, but it's fine. So they would tremble, and I had inability to speak in English fluently. Even today, I have, but I'm overcoming. It's fine. So I fell in love again. In love, yes, but this time with the books. Reading the book, The World is Your Stage, I made a conscious decision to change my thought process, and it did the trick. My complexes vanished. Being a small towner, having problem with English, or I could see, couldn't speak on stage, public speaking was all this stuff. So I could see a newer, better version of myself, more confident and ready to take on the stage, ready to take to the world. Next technique which I used was learned importance of right thinking mind. My husband's suicide taught me another extremely important lesson, rather I would say life lesson, of minding my mind. Minding my mind. No matter how wealthy, healthy or physically fit you are, badly or poorly trained mind can undo everything. The tragedy hammered the importance of the supreme role of a right thinking mind. for a successful and productive life. You can never be happy. You cannot be successful until and unless you have a right thinking mind. I consciously trained my mind in that direction. And I helped not only myself, I helped my children, I helped my workforce, I helped many more. Sixth technique which I used was learn the importance of appreciation. I applied appreciation as a technique to create collective consciousness in my workplace. Like the Ethiopian saying goes, it says, if tiny spiders work together, they can tame a lion. Today, we could turn around misfortune of our company into fortune. We successfully developed certain impossible products, wonderful products. I'm sure one day world will relish that because we created mutual appreciation community. Sixth technique which I used was creating hope. Charlie Chaplin, once told his mother, "Mom, I wish I were dead." And you know what mother told? Mother said, "No, my child, every life in this world comes with a mission to fulfill it. It could be a bamboo tree, which is designed to grow, touching the sky, or it could be sweet potato, which is designed to fill somebody's stomach." So she said, keep challenging, keep growing. And his mother's what did the magic, created that hope, and imagine where he finally ended up. I also struggled to create hope in my two young daughters. They were just 8 and 13 years old at that time when my husband died. And now they are grown up to be very strong, wise, successful young women. Eighth technique which I used was creating a personal vision statement. The milkman of India, Dr. Verghese Kurian, he brought about milk revolution in India. He helped India to become #1 milk producer globally. His desire was that farmers' income should be more. He was more worried about that. So because he had a great vision, some big purpose of his life, that's why he could be successful. I too have a dream. I have a dream to contribute to sustainable environment by making some biodegradable products. My daughter, she has written a book, A Million Dreams, with the idea to create a better world. If I could transform from a homemaker into a successful entrepreneur just by changing my belief system, so you can. I can vouch for it. You just need to get out of your comfort zone, break the mental barriers, and make a better version of yourself each moment, each day, and make a history. Thank you.